Welcome to the learning of Singapore history in broad strokes. In the next few minutes, we shall take a journey back in time to trace the development of Singapore as a maritime hub from as early as the 14th century. To enliven our learning journey will be a 6 by 6 feet diorama conceptualized by Nanhua High School's Humanities Department and created by students of the school's Aesthetic Club.
A three-dimensional display of the world map, the diorama comes with buttons and LED lights to help us track the maritime trade routes of early seafarers and understand how three major historical developments: A. The frenzied demand for spices, B. Tapping of monsoon winds, and C. Western colonization, charted the course of Singapore's history.
So just how hot was the spice trade in the 14th century? Well, let's picture the ubiquitous demand for handphones and electronic gadgets in the world today, and we can form a pretty good idea of just how hot it was.
Why then were spices such as cloves, cinnamon, nutmegs, and all sorts of peppers so sought after? Apart from making food savory, they were used as medicine and cosmetics for the living, and also to embalm the dead. Most critically, they were used to keep starvation at bay by preserving food during times of bad harvests or harsh winters. Much of these commodities were found in the Spice Islands, a remote Indonesian archipelago east of Sulawesi. Like a magnet, they drew ships from all corners of the world into Southeast Asia even before the 14th century.
It was from here that Bugis traders in Phoenicia boats would follow annual easterly winds and arrive in Singapore around October. They would sell spices and in turn buy goods that ranged from Indian cloth, cotton, and opium to Chinese silk, tea, and porcelain. Come December, they would take advantage in the reversal of wind direction to sail home.
As monsoon wind patterns increasingly dictated maritime trade, Singapore's prominence grew as it straddled both the northeast and southwest monsoon winds. From December to May, Chinese junks would arrive with the northeast monsoon laden with abundant goods. Traders from China, Thailand, and Vietnam would then depart when the southwest winds blew between June and November. Likewise, Indian and Arab mariners would set sail for Singapore in dhows at the onset of the southwest monsoon season each year, and return with the northeast winds with precious loads of spices which were sold at exorbitant prices to Europeans on the other side of the world.
For centuries, European gold flowed eastwards as Arab stranglehold on the spice trade left the West clueless on how it could gain direct access to the precious commodity. Prices even soared to unsustainable levels when supplies dried up during the Crusades, which were fought intermittently between the 11th and 13th century.
Then came Vasco da Gama's accidental rounding of Africa's Cape of Good Hope, which changed the course of 14th century history and triggered an era of Western domination of the world. Portuguese caravel and Dutch fleet rode the southwest monsoons to India's Calicut and found the gateway to the heart of spice trade in Southeast Asia. Europe had finally found its own access to commodities that were desperately sought after back home. The floodgates opened for a flow of Western ships, traders, and guns into Southeast Asia as waves of colonial powers arrived with the Portuguese and Dutch in the 16th century and British in the 19th century. European colonialists in possession of superior technology and global markets greatly boosted the volume and traffic in spice trade, and Singapore bustled and flourished in its wake.
Singapore's role as a maritime hub was given another huge boost with the introduction of steamships and use of the Suez Canal in the 19th century. Maritime voyages were greatly shortened and no longer dependent solely on monsoon patterns. As trading activity spiked, Singapore will ride many more new challenges and seize further opportunities to emerge as a global trade hub of the 21st century and beyond.